Okay, so we've got some interesting materials here about the modern workforce
Yeah.
and the challenges that businesses face. And it seems like
Sure.
everyone is talking about finding the right people and how difficult it's become.
Yeah, absolutely. And these sources we have really highlight that.
Uh-huh.
Whether we're talking about keeping an office running, um, having people to answer the phones and do the filing, or
Mm.
or even just making sure that products actually get manufactured and shipped.
Right.
It all comes down to having the right people in place.
Yeah, and then you think about all the other things that businesses need people for,
Yeah.
like managing a fleet of vehicles or providing
Yeah.
essential services.
Right.
It just seems like the need for reliable workers is everywhere, and it's only getting harder to find them.
Yeah, and that's what makes this deep dive into ESA staffing and screening so fascinating.
Yeah.
They seem to have a very specific approach to addressing these challenges.
Okay, so let's just jump right in.
Yep.
One of the first things that really stood out to me in these materials was this emphasis on
Mhm.
getting an agreement signed. Like it seems like it's the very first crucial step in the whole process.
It is. It really is. And I think what's interesting here is that the agreement is more than just a formality.
Yeah.
It's not just about paperwork. It's really the signal to ESA that you're serious about finding the right people and that you're ready to let them put their resources and expertise to work for you.
And one of the sources even puts it quite directly. It
Mhm.
says, let me find the exact quote here.
Sure.
It says, getting that agreement signed so that we can start shipping you people.
Right, exactly. And that might sound a little blunt, but I think it really highlights their
Yeah.
commitment to actually getting you the workforce you need.
Okay, so once that agreement is in place,
Mhm.
ESA can start connecting you with
Mhm.
their network of potential hires. And speaking of that network,
Yeah.
it sounds incredibly diverse.
It is, they work with all sorts of people.
Yeah.
It's not just one type of worker or one skill set.
Right.
The materials mention individuals with and without hard skills, people who are currently employed but looking for new opportunities,
Yeah.
and of course, people who are actively seeking employment.
So it's a really broad range.
It is, and the sheer volume is impressive too.
Yeah.
They mention hundreds of people coming in every month, and their online job board
Wow.
gets thousands of views every month.
Thousands. That's huge,
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
especially in today's tight labor market.
Absolutely. In this kind of environment, having access to that volume of potential candidates is a real advantage.
For sure. So it's not just about having a big database, though.
No, it's not. It's about having a system for finding the right people within that database.
Right.
And ESA seems to have a very well-defined methodology for doing just that.
Okay. So they refer to it as their E8 screening method
Yeah.
and their E8 plus QA staffing services. And it sounds like a really detailed multi-stage process.
It is. It's designed to cover all the bases and ensure that you're getting the best possible candidates.
Okay. So can you walk us through what that process actually looks like?
Sure. So it all starts with recruit, which is basically the active identification of potential talent.
Okay.
Then comes screen, which is a thorough evaluation of those candidates' qualifications and suitability for the specific role you're looking to fill.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the E8 screening method really comes into play.
Okay.
And then you have select, which is the point where informed hiring decisions are made.
So this is where they help you actually choose the best candidate.
Exactly. And then onboard is all about smoothly integrating those new hires into your team and your company culture.
Mhm.
And then you have QA, which stands for quality assurance.
Okay.
And this is actually a really interesting part of their approach.
How so?
Well, it suggests that their involvement doesn't just end with the placement.
Yeah.
They're committed to ongoing support and monitoring.
To make sure that the placement is successful.
Exactly.
Okay, so
And finally, you have lead, which touches on leadership development and longer-term talent management strategies.
okay, so it sounds like they're thinking about the big picture.
They're not just focused on filling immediate needs, but on building a sustainable workforce for the future.
Okay, let's dive a little deeper into that screen stage.
Sure.
That E8 screening method. It sounds really thorough.
It is. And I think it's one of the things that really sets ESA apart from other staffing agencies.
So what are the key elements of that screening process?
Well, it starts with behavioral interviews,
Yeah.
which are designed to go beyond just the skills listed on a resume.
Hmm.
They're trying to assess how a candidate is likely to perform in real-world workplace situations.
So it's about understanding their personality and their work ethic.
Exactly. And then they also do verified work history checks to make sure that the information provided by the candidate is accurate.
So no resume padding.
Right, and drug screening is also part of the process.
Hmm.
And criminal background checks, of course, for security and peace of mind.
And the materials also say, and much more.
Yeah, they do, which suggests that there are even more layers to their screening process that they don't even go into detail about.
So it's a very comprehensive evaluation.
It is, and I think for businesses like yours, that level of due diligence is really valuable.
For sure. It's not just about filling a position quickly, it's about making informed decisions.
Absolutely. It's about minimizing risk and ensuring that the people you're bringing on board are the right fit for your team and your company culture.
Okay, so we've talked about recruit and screen.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to onboard.
Okay.
One of the excerpts really dives into the importance of onboarding and what it should look like.
It does, and I think it's really important to highlight that because onboarding is often overlooked,
Yeah.
but it's a critical part of ensuring that new hires are successful and productive.
So what are the key elements of a good onboarding process according to these materials?
Well, it starts with training, of course,
Mm.
making sure that the new hire understands their role, their responsibilities, and the company's procedures.
Okay.
And then you have things like seat assignments and equipment requirements.
Right, making sure they have a workspace and the tools they need.
Exactly. And then there's permissions and badging to grant them access to the systems and facilities they need.
Yeah.
And finally, there's orientation, which is
Yeah.
all about introducing them to the company culture.
So it's not just about the technical aspects of the job.
No, it's about making them feel like they're part of the team.
And why is all of this so important?
Well, if you think about it from the new hire's perspective, it's about making them feel welcome and comfortable in their new environment.
Mm-hmm.
It's about reducing anxiety and giving them the confidence they need to succeed.
And from the company's perspective.
It's about maximizing productivity and retention.
Right.
You know, the faster a new hire can get up to speed and feel like they're a valued member of the team, the more likely they are to stay with the company.
And there's also the point about onboarding being easily transferable.
Yes, that's a really important point.
And that suggests that ESA has a system in place that can be adapted to different roles and industries.
Exactly. And that can be really valuable for businesses that have a variety of needs.
For sure. Okay, so beyond the components of onboarding,
Mm-hmm.
the materials also talk about some best practices for making sure the new hires are integrated smoothly.
They do, and they really emphasize the importance of ongoing support and feedback.
So what are some of those best practices?
Well, they recommend checking in frequently with new hires to see how they're doing and answer any questions they might have.
Mm-hmm.
They also suggest a 90-day evaluation to formally assess their progress,
Okay.
and they encourage self-assessments during reviews to promote self-awareness and professional development.
And they also mention assigning a mentor.
Yes. That can be really helpful for new hires, especially if they're new to the industry or the company culture.
Okay, so it's about providing structure and guidance, but also giving them the space to grow and learn.
Yeah.
Now, one of the sources specifically mentions the construction industry as an area where ESA has a lot of expertise.
Yeah, they do. And I think it's a good example of how they can cater to the specific needs of different industries.
And they talk about placing construction managers and supervisors,
Mm-hmm.
which are obviously critical roles in that industry.
They are.
And they also mention a temp-to-hire solution.
Yes, with a 520-hour evaluation period.
Can you explain what that means?
Sure. So basically, it's a way for both the employer and the potential employee to test the waters before making a long-term commitment.
Mm.
So the employee works for a set period of time, in this case, 520 hours.
Okay.
And during that time, both parties can assess whether it's a good fit.
And if it is?
Then the employee can be hired permanently.
Okay, so it's like an extended trial period.
Exactly. And I think it's a really valuable option, especially in an industry like construction where the right fit is so important.
Absolutely. Okay, so going back to the big picture,
Yeah.
the challenges that businesses are facing in today's labor market, the sources really emphasize the urgency of partnering with ESA.
They do.
They say now more than ever, it's time to partner with ESA staffing and screening.
Right. And I think that sense of urgency comes from the fact that the labor market is only getting tighter,
Yeah.
and it's becoming more and more difficult for businesses to find the people they need to operate and grow.
So ESA is positioning itself as the solution to that problem.
They are. They're saying that they have the resources, the expertise, and the network to help businesses navigate these challenges.
And it's not just about filling immediate openings, right?
No, it's not. It's about building long-term partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
And they really emphasize that in the materials. They talk about service before and after placement,
Right.
which suggests that they're committed to supporting their clients every step of the way.
And they also mention handling things like benefits administration and tax compliance.
Yes, they do, which can be a huge burden for businesses, especially smaller businesses.
For sure.
So ESA is really taking on a lot of the administrative and logistical headaches that come with managing a workforce.
And the language they use really reinforces this idea of partnership.
It does. They talk about building mutually beneficial partnerships, and they say, your partnership our priority.
So it's not just a transactional relationship.
Yeah, it's a collaborative approach.
Okay, so to sum it all up,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say is the key takeaway here for businesses that are struggling to find and retain qualified employees?
I think the key takeaway is that ESA staffing and screening offers a comprehensive solution to talent acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
They have a proven process that starts with proactive recruitment, continues with thorough screening, and includes effective onboarding and ongoing quality assurance.
And all of that is designed to help businesses build a strong and reliable workforce.
Exactly.
And for businesses that are feeling the strain of the current labor market,
Right.
ESA is saying that they can help alleviate that strain.
They can.
And they can help businesses find the people they need to succeed. Exactly. Okay, so
Yeah.
if someone is listening to this
Yeah.
and they're interested in learning more about ESA,
Mm-hmm.
what should they do?
Well, the materials provide a few different ways to get in touch.
Yep.
They can call Matt or Brad directly at 870-367-3401,
Mm-hmm.
or they can email corp at esa-staffing.com,
Okay.
or they can visit the website at www.esa-staffing.com/contacts.
All right, so there you have it, folks.
Yeah.
A deep dive into ESA staffing and screening and their approach to solving the workforce challenges that so many businesses are facing today.
And I think it's a really fascinating example of how companies are adapting to the changing dynamics of the labor market.
For sure.
And it really leaves us with a question to ponder, how could a streamlined and thorough approach to talent acquisition and onboarding fundamentally reshape your business?
That's a great question.
Yeah, something to think about.
For sure. Well, thanks for joining me for this deep dive,
My pleasure.
and we'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye.